So, welcome to chapter 12. This is the chapter where we'll finally meet our, in a systematic fashion, our first past tense form, the simple past tense one. This is both the older of the two morphological past tense forms found in Mari. It's also the more rarely used one, but we'll get to that in 2 weeks when we meet the second past tense form. There we will discuss the usage situations that motivate the usage of the one or the other. Before we get to that, though, some smaller grammatical points that we want to look at. And the first one is adjective or derivational suffixes. There are two of them, which at least one of them we have already seen, but want to look at them systematically. And also want to discuss what motivates the usage of one or the other. So the first one that we're going to look at is c'est so ce. Sorry, this is supposed to be an uppercase letter showing vowel harmonic alternation. And so this is usually just attached to a nominal stem. And if the nominal stem ends in a consonant, then there is a linking vowel preceding it. So let's try a few. If we have one moment. So let's try these one, twos together. So if we have Yal, village, an adjective or form of that could be Valentina.
Yalisse.
Yalisse. Then Kelvin, Ola, city.
Olase.
Yep. Then Tengeche, yesterday, Sonia.
Tengechese.
Yeah, Tengechese. So you see, it's not just nominal stems that can attach to. It can also attach to some adverbial stems here. Luan, Erla.
Erlasse.
Yep. Sandra, Passu.
Passusa.
Passuso. Yep. And Valentina, Pert. I heard it right. So, okay. Valentina.
Pertisse.
Pertisse. Exactly. Two very commonly used ones that are irregular in their formation, you just have to learn as separate things, are kenyesh, summer. Here it is kenyejem se, that it is attached to the accusative form, which is also used as an adverb of like in summer. And kizit now, kizit se, modern contemporary, you don't have a linking vowel here. And it's not predictable, it's just some stuff that you have to accept. So about the usage of c'est so ce. C'est so ce is used to express some kind of spatial or temporal relation to the base word to which something is connected. Of the village, in the village, of yesterday, during yesterday, etc., etc. So if we have like Yalase Ilish, this is like the countryside life, the life in the village, of the village, the life. Or Olasakalik, city people, the people who are in the city. Tengechese Gazette, the newspaper, yesterday's paper, the paper that came out yesterday. Or Erlasi Geche, tomorrow's weather, the weather which inhabits tomorrow. Or Kizitse Mari Ilme, it's modern, the modern Mari language, the Mari language of today. This is there are a bunch of like the standard Mari grammars by Maris for Maris. They are always either Russian Savremenny Mariski Yazik or Kizitse Mari Ilme when they appear in Mari, which becomes fairly ironic when they end up being decades old. Like there are forms, the Kizitse Mari Ilme volumes from like 50 years ago that definitely do not represent Mari as it is spoken today. Okay, the other, so this is fully productive, the suffix. You can attach to anything and everything, well, at least nouns. Another fully productive suffix that which we have already met, this is supposed to be B, I'll fix that too, is an. An is used to express that something has something, with something. So, and this one is somewhat similar to English E in some cases, like rain, rainy, wind, windy, etc. But it is much wider in usage. And I mean, this one we have already met in the past. But so its formation is equivalent to the at clitic, which we have already looked at. So it's just an is attached to the end of the base word, and if there is an unstressed e or ö, the suffix eats it without any mercy. So Kelvin gets, if you have vut, water.
Vut, vutan.
Vudan, yeah. And Sonja, Helledisch.
Helledischen.
Helledishan, yeah. Then Luan, Ui, butter.
Uyan.
Uyan, and how many letters does Uyan have?
3.
3, exactly. This is just, let's not forget the shenanigans that the orthography has. That, I mean, we know it by now, but yeah, as a sound combination is then that. Okay, Sandra, Tial, happiness.
Pialan.
Yeah, this is a very, very commonly used adjective, and it's like it works the other way around compared to English, that you have the noun as the base form and then the adjective derived from it. Then Valentina, Kecha, son.
Kechan.
Kechan, and Kelvin, Ush.
Ushan.
Ushan, very good. So about the usage, yeah, okay, Kechan, Kecha, sunny day, Pialan, Ilish, happy life. So far, so good. This is the one. This is the usage that that is a bit sometimes surprising for newcomers. Is that you can attach it not just to a noun but to a whole nominal phrase. Like you could have the grandfather of 15 sick children. You could have as 15 sick children grandfather. So very long things can be can have this suffix. This is fairly common in the broader area of like typologically similar languages. The derivational suffixes of this type can attach to whole long chains of words. Like in Turkish, the equivalent derivational suffix can do the same thing. Okay. So denominal adverbs is again something we have already met this, but just to have it systematically, and then we'll also can look at the comparative forms and such. So we have this instructive ending in, which can be attached to various kinds of stems. Like if it's attached to verbal stems, it's a converb. If it's attached to numerals, you create collective numerals to it, and we can attach it to different nominal stems, both nouns and adjectives, to create adverbial forms. More commonly adjectives, but it can also be nouns. Like here we have good, well, warm, warmly, cheap, cheaply, but it could also be foot. You get on foot as an adjective. So let's just briefly, the formation, it is exactly the same like the genitive. And let's say Sonja, Sai.
Sayen.
Sayen, very good. Luan, Shoksho.
Shokshin.
Shokshin, very good. And Sandra, Schuldo.
Schudlan.
Schulden, very good. So the only comment I have to make about its usage actually says more about English than it says about Mari, and that is okay. So those of us that like English-speaking students have a bit of an easier time with this than German-speaking students. Because German-speaking students that you always have to explicitly mark adverbs can be annoying for them, because in German, adverbs, the adjectives are just used as adverbs without any verb marking usually. But what you have to keep in mind in Mari is that Mari is more systematic in when it uses explicitly marked adverbial forms than English is, because English has this internal rule that you do not use adverbial forms with certain verbs of perception. Like, you know, in English you say, oh, that it looks good, instead of saying it looks well. You say the light, it's shining green, rather than that it is shining greenly. Mari has no such restrictions. In all of these cases where you in English would use the adjective form rather than the adverbial form, Mari likes using adverbial forms. And we're going to have an example in a few slides where you see that in practice. Sorry to skip back. I see that Gopal asked a question. Is the same with the an suffix meaning with, is this the same as the an suffix meaning with X? Yes, it is. So like if you, might want to have like, I don't know, the business person with the big red car. You could have Kugo Yoshkar Mashinan Business Yang or so. And it's just, there is no other good way to translate this into English, for example, other than using a with phrase or so. Because I mean, saying something like the big red Carly businessman or so would not sound very convincing. Okay, but let's continue now with the adverbial forms. So there is something somewhat weird happens in comparison. So if I want to have like, if I have well known, I want to have comparative and superlative forms. Like, okay, in English I don't have them, but better, best, just as adverbs. So one moment. So we already know how to form cyan well. And the comparative and the superlative forms they use the same formats that we already met with adjectives. Rak and en. We already saw that they can, like, if we have an adverb that is not derived from an adjective or stem, like vaske, quickly, we just attach the same things to it. Vaske is quick, vaskerak, quicker, and then en vaske would be the quickest. But if I want to have like cyan, well, Valentina, how would you form a comparative form of this instinctively? Valentina's picture is frozen, so I'm not sure. Okay, I think there's some technical problem, doesn't matter. Kelvin, if you have cyan, how would you instinctively form a comparative form of this?
Is that instinctively as in before I looked at the textbook?
Oh, damn. Okay, that spoils it.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so instinctively one might think that one would like to, that one would say, I don't know, sayraken, that I have like better, sayrak, and then an adverb. But actually both work. You can have sayen rak, that you take the adverb and attach the rak to it, or that you attach first the rak to the stem and then the adverb formant. I checked this in the corpus. The frequency here is the first strategy is about 10 times more common than the second one, roughly. So this is by far the default. This is really the default way of doing it, is that you first have the n to make an adverb of it, and then you attach the rak to that. Okay, and the superlative form, there is no ambiguity there. There's only one way of doing this. Okay, few usage examples here. Yeah, I have nothing to say additionally to these. I'm running quickly. You are running more quickly. Shihide is running the quickest. David Marla Sain Kutara, David speaks more well. Estonla Sain Rak, Estonian better. Niemeczla and Sain, but German the best. Okay, are there any questions pertaining to the grammar that we have covered so far before we meet our first past tense? If yeah,
I have a question about something that might not be related, but that I encountered in the text. Is that like this maybe you will still cover it in the usage of words section, but the suffix ak, I think we encountered that before, but I'm not sure anymore what it is.
Okay, this is ak. It's really hard to put your finger on it, and as per usual, you can blame the chuvashes, because it's a chuvash borrowing, and it's sort of. Older sources will tell you that it's an emphatic particle, but older sources will tell you that absolutely everything is an emphatic particle. Absolutely any little element that they can't define is an emphatic particle. So it doesn't really tell you much. It's kind of it is sort of intensifying often. Like there are some cases where you can put your finger on it. It's like to underline an equivalency. Like if I say, oh, you have such a nice bag, I have the same bag. You could say I have this bag, and then you would have the bag and then with the ak to indicate that it is just that one. But often if you have it, like you'll have it in cases like if it's in the text, I can see if I can comment on it when we meet it. But if often it is sort of like with adverbs, it's kind of like intensifying in a way, and it is really hard to translate it into other languages. This is not because Mari is so super special with its particles, it's just particles are a pain to translate between languages. It's like, I know this between English and German, that like German particles be ja and doch or whatnot. It's really hard to translate those into English. Yeah, focus marker, it can be used as that, but I'm not sure it always works at that. Let's get back to that dimension of analysis. Okay, so past tenses. The first past tense is absolutely fascinating if you are a scholar of Uralic languages, and an absolute pain in the butt if one is learning Mari. It is absolutely fascinating in that it is formed in a completely different manner in the first conjugation and the second conjugation, and both forms are reflexes of forms from the proto languages where we have cognate forms throughout the language family. So that's really cool, but it's not cool when you're learning the language that you have this past tense formed completely differently in the two past tense forms. So we have to look at it conjugation class by conjugation class here. And we start with the first past tense form. So the first past tense form here, the past tense marker here is cognate with the Baltic Finnic E past tense marker that we have. That's like in Estonian, tulen is I come and tulin is I came. Yeah, same in Finnish actually. So in this E as a past tense marker, like in Mari, historically that's what it was, and it led to the palatalization of some preceding consonants. We'll get to that, but otherwise it usually has it turned into a reduced vowel, and in some cases disappeared. We'll get back to the palatalization. I'll start with the standard forms. Usually I might say that these are regular verbs, but they're not. The other classes that we have to look at, they're not exactly regular. There are rules, that there are complex and annoying rules, but they're rules. So, but let's look at these three stems. Ludash, lut, to read, tunemash, to nem, to study, and ujash, to invite. So I gave you the endings here that you have in the respective persons. In the third person, it is a vowel harmonic. There is vowel harmonic alternation. So let's let's start with Sonia. Let's try Ludash. Let's go through the forms. At first, it's just like attaching the things you have on the left. So
Okay. Luden. Ludach. Ludach. Yeah. Ludo.
Ludo, which also is a noun meaning duck. So this is like a common joke in Mars. Ludo is the duck red.
Okay. Ludna. Ludda.
Yeah.
Ludach.
Exactly.
How comes that actually the second form singular and the third form plural are the same? Is it like homonymous or?
They are homonyms, yes, and this is something that my colleague Johannes Hirvonen and I have looked at this in the corpus. If this like has the ambiguity that creates these forms if that has an influence on pro-drop, and it does, that like in these cases, that Mari usually is a pro-drop language, so you don't have a pronominal subject, but like here with Ludic, it would be more common than elsewhere in the paradigm to have then a pronominal subject, so to avoid, to disambiguate. It's by no means obligatory, because often if it's from context, if it's clear who you are talking, like who the reference is, you don't have to have a pronominal subject. But yeah, it is genuine ambiguity. Yeah. And here you can also see with this from lutna, lutta. This is the reason why I've been so obnoxious with when we were looking at the present tense forms, that this reduced vowel is pronounced, that people say ludna rather than just lutna and drop it off. Because if you drop this reduced vowel in the present tense, you get a past tense form. The reduced vowel distinguishes meaning. And in Mari, where often reduced vowels for phonotactic reasons have disappeared, you then end up having a homonymity between present tense forms and past tense forms, and that can really cause some problematic ambiguities at times. Okay, then Luan, tunem, to study. Can you form the 6 forms here?
To nehmen, to nemich, to nehme,
yeah,
to nemna, to nemda, and to nemich.
To nemich, right. And then the last one goes to Sandra.
Ujem, ujic, uje.
Yeah.
Ujna, ujda, and ujic.
Ujic. Right. Okay, so this is like standard. Group standard is to say everything except for the exceptions that I'm going to discuss now. And I don't want to, like, as I mentioned, I don't want to call these exceptions irregular, because it is regular. Any verb that falls into these groups behaves like this. So if we have a stem that ends in an L or an M, then this becomes palatal in all forms but the first person plural or the second person plural. So you suddenly have then the L becomes a Y, the N becomes a Ny. And here you have to keep in mind, then now we have this idiosyncratic aspect butting heads with the tricky aspects of the Cyrillic orthography as used by Mari. That is that the manner in which the palatal realization of a consonant is indicated differs depending on the vowel that follows it. So we're going to see some differences here between the different forms. So the group, and just here is a note, so stems ending in L. So here we have nilash, stem nel, to swallow, and tolash, stem tol, to come. This group, this is a very big group that you can find countless verbs that fall into this category. At some point, we have manash as an example for verbs with stems ending in N. At some point, Timothy Lisa, when we were working on this textbook, kind of got annoyed with why do we always have manash? Why are we always illustrating it with this verb? So I looked in the dictionary for other verbs with stems ending in N, and there are none. So this is like a group that one verb has for its own, because it's the only verb in the Mari language that has a verbal stem ending in an N. Okay, but in any case, it's Valentina's turn. Valentina, is your working again?
Yes, it's okay now.
Okay.
So let's try it. So Nelim,
Yeah.
Nelic,
Yeah.
Nele.
That's how you write it. It is pronounced neye with a palatal I, but you don't see it. So this is then why we have the accent mark in R as we have it in the textbook. But this is then actually, it's a minimal pair, because there is also the adjective nele, difficult.
Nele, Nele.
So we have nele, nele, a minimal pair, difficult and swallowed. And the distinguishing palatal realization is not orthographically marked. Okay.
Then Nelna, Nelda, Nelic.
Nelic. Okay, and this is something you have to be very careful here to remember to forget to palatalize. That you don't, in these two poor persons, you don't want it. Okay, Kelvin, the next one.
All right. Toalash, tolium,
Yeah.
tolich, tolio,
Yeah.
tolna,
Yeah.
tolda,
Yeah.
tolich.
Foliage. Very good. And Sonia, the last one.
Nasz manem, maniem,
Manium.
maniecz,
Mm-hmm.
manie,
Mm-hmm.
manna,
Mm-hmm.
manda,
Yeah.
and maniecz.
Maniec. Very good. So, and here you can see that in two of these, the palatable realization is invisible, but here it is not, simply because here the vowel harmonic O allows for it to appear. A vowel harmonic Ö would do so too. The vowel harmonic E doesn't. But yeah, this is just our orthography giving us headaches. Okay, so now comes the one truly irregular form, and that is to be, because to be is has like an exception from an exception. So to be, ulash, with the verbal stem ul. Firstly, you have a stem change that becomes the u becomes an but then you also have that the palatable realization happens in all persons, also in the first plural, first singular. So this rule that you don't do it, that you have to remember to forget to palatalize in other L stems, does not apply here. And yeah, I think yeah, Luan.
Ilium, then Ilyich, Ilya, Ilyana, Ilyada, and Ilyich.
Yeah. So here, I'm not sure if I heard it right. You have to make sure there is no linking vowel here. It's just a na, a da. This form ila here was. Remember this one because this is very frequently also used as a particle in compound past tenses and various other stuff. Also following the Turkic pattern that ila was. We're going to meet this a lot. So the last extra group that we have to look at in the past tense, and these are the simplifying stems. The stems that have stem simplification and stem alternation. So here the rule that we've been looking at, like if we have the verbal stem kochk, we say that if we have an ending attached to it that starts with a vowel, like the infinitive ending ash, then we attach it to the basic stem, no problem, kochkash. But if we attach something to the stem that starts in a consonant, we would get something like in the necessitive infinitive man. We would be getting something phonotactically impossible in kochkman, and thus we have to simplify to kochman. If we in the simple past tense attach these endings to it in the various persons, we're not having any problems until we get to the first person plural, first person, and a second person plural, because here now we suddenly have consonantic suffixes attached to the stem, and thus we want our stem simplifications or alternations, but we don't in the other person. So this is a bit tricky. Sandra, if you're up to it to do the first one, to eat.
Kochkin,
Yeah.
Kochkit.
Yeah.
Kochko.
Kochko.
Kochna, Kochda, Kochkich.
Exactly. Valentina, Shinchash, to sit down. This is, sorry, the gloss is not quite right.
Okay, so Shinchim,
Yeah.
Shinchich, Shinche,
Yeah.
Shichna,
Yeah.
Shichda,
Yeah.
and then Shinchich.
Shinchich. Yep. And Kelvin, the last one, was asked to lie down.
Vozem, vozich, vozo, vochna, vochda, vozich.
Okay. So that's it for the first conjugation. And as you see, it's complex and it's annoying, but aside from to be, everything is following a set of rules. So in the second conjugation, the picture is somewhat more simple. So in the second conjugation, we also in the contemporary language have a past tense marker, and that is sh. It's cognate with various sibilant past tense markers that one has, like in Ugric languages, for example, we have S as a past tense marker. And one would be tempted to think, and I instinctively thought that this was the case, that we also have S as a past tense marker in Finnic languages in some cases, like in Estonian, I went is kaisin, like from that stem word. In Finnish we have haluan, I want, but halusin, I wanted. The thing is, it's not actually cognate. It's because in Finnish we had this sound development that ti became si, and so we had like in some verbs that had a t in stem finally, we had then a past tense marker e, like in haluan to want. It's like the infinitive is haluta, so it was halutin, and then this t became s, and halutin became halusin with time. So this is the kind of thing that we have a sibilant past tense marker throughout the Uralic language family. We have it in the Finnic language family too, but it is not actually the sibilant past tense marker we have anywhere else. Okay, sorry for this detour, but just for those of you that speak Finnish or Estonian, it can help you remember this even if it's not what it is. So here we have sh, and then the same endings we saw in the first conjugation, except for in the third person singular and the third person plural, where there are some differences here. In the third person singular, you have no ending anymore after the sh of the past tense, and in third person plural, it's then st. So yeah, it's different. And I think it was, Sonia's turn. Wozash, also to write.
Wozoschen, Wozoschitsch, Wozosch, Wozoschna, Wozoschta, Wozoscht.
Wozosch. Yep. Then Luan, Male to sleep.
Malishim,
Yeah.
Malishich,
Yeah.
Malish,
Yeah.
Malishna, Malishta, Malisht.
Yeah. Great. And Sandra.
Kayesh, Kayesh.
Yeah.
Kayeshna, Kayeshda, Kayesht.
Right. Okay. And so in the second past tense, in the second conjugation, we don't have any subgroups like in the first group that we have to worry about. This is the whole picture of it. So so this is comparatively simple, I would say. Yeah, and I mean, like for me, it blew my mind when I was learning Mari that like kayashim, which in Estonian you have kaisin for I went. The only cognate element in these two forms is the n and the n, the person marker for the first person singular. Neither the verbal stem nor the past tense marker are actually cognate, but still can help remember it. Okay, about its usage, we're only going to touch on this briefly now because it's like the usage, it's like one has to discuss this in contrast to the simple past tense too, which we haven't learned yet. So we'll discuss this once we have learned it, when one should use these two forms respectively. But very generally speaking, it is often used for things that happened fairly recently, that were directly observed by the speaker and that still have some kind of relevance today. Like if you say Vachi kizitgena kayesh, Vachi he just left, just went out. So it is And like this one, I would find like if I'm in Moscow, I lived in Moscow 2 years ago, for 2 years. Here I would find it absolutely fine to use the second past tense, which we're going to meet in 2 weeks. So when the first past tense, there are some contexts when you have to use it. That is if something just immediately happened, you just saw something happen, and like a prototypical example is if somebody's explaining something to you and you understood it and you want to say, ah, I got it, you can stop explaining. What Mars and what they're saying is like, I understood. But if you say umelenam, the second past tense, which we're going to meet in 2 weeks, then it would mean that at some point in the past I remembered it, not just right now in the process of our conversation. And yeah. Okay, any questions about the past tense?
Yeah, so is this somewhat equivalent to a perfect?
Oh boy, which perfect in which language?
Yeah, okay, so I mean like you can use perfect in the sense of like the perfect of hot news, he's just arrived, sort of a thing. So I mean this seems kind of similar to that.
Kinda. I mean, it is tendentially used for punctual things that are like foregrounded sometimes in a way. Like if you like you can, in some cases you can, not always, but in some cases you can disambiguate between different usages of like between the two past tenses. You can sort of create an analogy to the English simple and continuous forms in some situations. Like if I'm saying, I was walking up the stairs when my phone rang. Or no, I was walking in the door when the phone rang. I could say it like this, or I could also say, the phone was ringing when I walked in the door. So both ways are possible. It's possible to have the phone ringing in the continuous form and the walking in the door as a continuous form, and the other one as a simple form, depending on how you want to frame it. What is the background? Like, is the phone ringing the background in front of which me going in the door happened, or is it the other way around? And like in Mari, you can do that too, that you have like simple past tense too for something that's happening in the background, like the phone was ringing when I came in the door with the first past tense. If I have several first past tense forms after another, I promise we'll only discuss this in 2 weeks, but we'll get back to it. If we have several first past tense forms after each other, then it is usually understood as sequential actions. Like I took the book, opened the door, put on my hat and left. But if you have two second past tense forms in a sentence, then they're usually understood to be long holding like things, actions that happen at the same time. Like I was sitting in the library reading a book. Both of these things happen at the same time. Yeah, because it's like the Turkic sort of deep preterite. It's tricky. Like Turkic has, of course, influenced the interpretation of the Mari past tense forms, especially as in Turkic you have a very clear evidential distinction with the past tense forms. Like, did you observe something directly or not? In Mari, it's a facet, but it's comparatively weak. That you like tendentially things that you just observe yourself, there would be a tendency to use the first past tense there, and just a second one for things that you didn't directly observe. But it's not an ironclad rule. It's not nearly as strong as in Turkic, and so yeah. As a person, I'd have to look at this to have a clearer opinion on this. Okay.
Wait, so what about the pronunciation?
Yeah.
Specifically of the second person plural second conjugation, does that presumably the sh and the d assimilate to one another.
Yes, they do.
Does that typically become a st or a zd?
St, it's voiceless. And if you look at the text collections from the late 19th century and early 20th century, you will consistently find it as a st. That, like the da suffix, be it as a verbal ending or as a possessive suffix, its pronunciation, it assimilates in voice to the preceding form, and in the second past tense, since it's always a sh, it's always unvoiced actually in pronunciation. Okay, any other past tense questions? Okay, since this is so much, we haven't yet included the negation that comes next week, but that's comparatively simple again. It's just 6 new forms of the negation verb used with the co-negative form. Nothing special happening there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's surprising if you're coming from Finnish, because like in Finnish, the negation verb does not have past tense forms. In Mari it does, but that's next week then. Okay, then let's do a few word and word usage points, and before we read the text, I don't think there's anything overly wild coming here, and there are some points here where we made sure that it all makes sense to a monolingual English speaker, but none of us are monolingual English speakers, so we like a lot of the points that are made here you will know from other languages. Okay, moшташ. We're now meeting a new modal verb. Bogi already mentioned this when she was visiting. So in addition to kertash, which we already know, moшташ in distinction to kertash is narrower. That there are a lot of contexts where you can use both, but moшташ, it's sort of like Finnish osata or German Vermögen or so. It is used when the thing that you express is a learned ability of sorts, whereas kertash is more wide. Why you can or cannot do something can be for a wide host of reasons. So if I say, for example, "Mui marla luden mostem" or kertam, both work, both are fine. It's like I can read Mari. So in German, in theory, it's very strange, but you could in theory say "Ich vermag es Marisch zu lesen" or so. But like you can indicate that you are able to do it like in a neutral sense with kertam, or with mostem, it's that you have the ability, you have learned it. Or on moshto, I have not learned it. There are some contexts where moshtash does not work, where it has to be kertash. We say like "Tacha min shinchan koshta," my eyes hurt today. Luden om kert, I can't read. Here you have to use kert. You cannot say moshto here, luden om moshto, because that would mean that you have lost the skill. And of course you haven't lost the skill if your eyes are sore and you can't read thus. So yeah. But when in doubt, you can always use kertash. Yeah, I would maybe Karen could answer this. Maybe Valentina asks if it's sort of like the difference between osata and kyeta.
So I was about to write something, but I guess I'll just say it then. It sounds like it, but I would probably say more osata versus voida. Because it sounds like kertash is pretty general. But I'm not a native speaker.
Yeah. Wait, do we have any Finnish native speakers here right now? I don't think so, but okay. Yeah. Okay, little note on počeš that we have met as meaning after and behind. Počeš does the same thing that German nach does. You can also use it in the sense of according to this or that. So we had Sentele počeš motolesh, this we had in the previous chapter. After winter comes what? But we can now say that Ti kommer med nam mogai recept počeš istet. following which recipe, after which recipe do you make layered pancakes? Okay, vara, then later after, which we've already met. We're having a new usage of it here as an emphatic particle or something. So German dann does similar things here. So you say vara paramet tengece kuze ertish. So paramet tengece kuze ertish would be how did your party go yesterday? And then vara is like, so how did it go then, or so? So it has this like, yeah, a function. It's kind of hard to put your finger on it. Yeah. Okay, this is something, since we have been through a new year together in this course, we already know this, but just as a quick, to quickly recap, the verb salamlаш, to greet or to congratulate. We can have it as to greet if we have like una vlakam shokshan salam lishna, we greeted the guests warmly with an accusative object. If you are congratulating somebody, or if you're wishing somebody a happy XYZ, then the government of the verb is, and this seems like a very clear Russian calc here, is that you say shochmokechet dena salam, I congratulate you with your birthday. So I wish happy birthday, basically. I wish you a happy birthday. And since this is much like, again, the copying of Russian patterns continues here. Since this is so well known that this is the government of this verb, you can drop the verb and it's understood what is meant. So if you see greeting cards which say ui dene with the new year, it's short for ui dene salam lem or whatnot. You don't need the verb because you know what you're saying anyway. And this happens in Russian too, like in Russian too. If you say Happy New Year in Russian, you usually just say Snoven Golden, like with the new year. Okay, then koyash, to seem to appear. We in the textbook here had some of the basic functions disambiguated when it would be used. If it can be used to say like to look like, to resemble. If I say like tui achatla koyat is you look like your father, you resemble your father. We can have it in the sense of being visible, like if we say yoshka flag vlak, red flags are to be seen on the street, can be seen in the street, are visible in the street. And it is especially used in combination with color terms, and now as adverbials, to say that something is visible in this or that color. Like if I say chodara, ujagen koyesh, like the forest looks green, it appears green, it is to be seen in this color, ujagen, then an adverbial form of ujage, green. Yeah. The last point, this is completely trivial if you know German, for example, that the word Rezept, it means Rezept. It is both a recipe used to cook something or bake something, and it's a prescription that you get from a doctor to get something at a pharmacy. Like Mari Kochkish Nigase Rezept. This is a recipe from the Mari Kochkish book. And I'll write you a prescription. I mean, this is some German speakers often make this mistake in English, that they'll ask their doctor for a recipe, and an English-speaking doctor would be a bit confused, like a recipe for what, cookies? Yeah. Okay, so that's it for words and words usage. Let me, not to be confused with receipt either. Yeah. And then we're going to chat. I've encountered Lithuanians just dropping people a su with instead of su. Okay, congratulations. Yeah, in Mari this wouldn't work because the with is at the end. But maybe Valentinos, have you ever heard like in Russian people just say snovim or so with the new one?
No, I was just going to ask you, because you know that in Russia you can keep greeting people with the new year for like days before and after the new year. So if there is something like s наступающим or s прошедшим. So but you don't do it with the new year like с Новым годом, but they do say s прошедшим or s наступающим. So it is happening. So I haven't heard people say so, but maybe it's going to happen
Okay, so the Lithuanians are just a bit further ahead.
just further. Yeah.
Here. Yeah, but this happens in Mari too, that people say like shushash uidena, like with the coming new year, with the new year that is to arrive, using the future necessitive participle, which we are going to meet eventually. Okay, let me see. Yeah, very colloquial. Yeah, but it was really cool if this happens in Mari, that people just start saying Dana. Okay. Any other questions, comments, or anything of the sort before we get to the text? Okay, I guess not. I have to just make sure now that I have that I'm sharing the sound. Okay. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, then let's start with. Okay, I'm trying to decide how long are they. We can do 1 or 2 sentences depending on how long it is at a given point. And Valentina, the first reply, both sentences. 1 moment, I'll play.
Okay.
Ora keçe yelu. Shochma keçe dene salamlem da pialdin tazalakam talanem.
Okay.
So good morning, Yellow. Happy birthday, or I wish you a happy birthday, and I wish you happiness and health.
Great. Then Kelvin, the next 2 ones.
Zoya. Vara pairemet tengeche kuzertash.
Or maybe 3 of them, because they're also trivial.
Zoya. Thank you, Zoya. Vara paramet tengeche kuze ertish. So how was your party yesterday? Pish Sayan, very, very good.
Okay, then again 2 for Sonia.
Шуко унаале. Пеш шукужак огыл, ик мыняр йолташем, пошкудем да родо-влакем.
Shukona Ola. Like, did you have a lot of guests? Shukajak Ogel, ik meneer Jotashim, Poshkudem da Rodevlakem. Not many.
Yeah.
Shukajak Ogel. A few friends, neighbors, and relatives. I suppose this rodo, it's from Russian, because in Czech we have the word rod, which means something like suku in Finnish.
Yeah. There are comparatively few words starting with r that are not recent loan words in Mari. I would have to look into what the story is, their sound historically. One aspect is the Turkic languages generally don't like R at the beginning of a word. You even have it like in Turkic languages that borrowings from Russian get a vowel to prevent them from starting with an R. That like in many Turkic languages, Russian becomes an urus or something like that. There's a vowel before it. So there are 2 notable things in this last sentence. So one is the shukajak. I think this is the one that Sandra mentioned. That seemed a bit weird. So and I mean, it's especially nice that we have here 2 somewhat fuzzy emphatic things. First, we have the possessive suffix, 3rd person singular, and then we have this ak. And I mean, it's like sort of like so, or so not so many. Well, so why we need 2 of them? Good question. Did anybody else notice something odd? Did anybody notice anything odd about this sentence?
I would say ogle, if that is for the past tense.
No, that's this is like ogle being used sort of as a constituent negator, and like there is no time expression here. It's like no, it's just the many is being negated. No, I mean the odd thing here is that so if we have ik men jaar, a few as a quantifier, what we have learned so far is that quantifiers, be they numerals or other, don't need that you have singular forms after them, not plural forms. But we have so ik ben jaar die alte shem, a few of my friends, poshkudem, of my neighbors, da rodo vlakem, with a vlak. So why do we have a quantifier here and then a plural suffix there? We discussed this with more native speakers, and the answer seems to be that it's just because it's so long that people have kind of already forgotten that there was an ik men jaar. It doesn't bother native speakers. They say, no, actually, yeah, it probably shouldn't be there. But if you tried, then like, how would they feel about per shukajak ogel ik men jaar rodo vlakem without anything before? And they all reject that. They say, no, that's completely wrong. So it just seems to be the vlak. It's just the distance from the quantifier makes it okay to Mari ears.
So can I ask something about that further?
Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep
That's fine.
interjecting weird questions, but so is there any chance it's actually ik men jaar yoltashem poshkudem da rodovlakem, as in all of my relatives?
We
and
asked,
the ik men jaar does not modify that at all.
We asked our native speakers this, and they did not seem to think so. But I mean, it's an interesting note, especially that you say that this is one chunk and this is a chunk. But yeah. Okay, then yeah, Luan up next.
What
did you serve your guests with?
Yeah, exactly. Then Sandra.
Kogulim moštашam, koman milnam kyüştüm.
I made different pastries and I baked Kolmen Melna.
Yeah. And then Valentina, the next one.
Kyüştüm. Soya, ayda istölteri şinçina.
So Zoya, let's sit at the table.
Yeah. And then Kevin is the next.
Ayda istölteri şinçina. Samovarat şolaş puruş. Çayım yuyuna, kogulim koçkina.
So I'm starting from Samavarat, right?
Yeah.
Samavarat sholash purush chayam yuna kogulim kochkana. So we warmed up the samovar, drank tea or drink tea, and ate pastry.
Yeah, yeah. So this samovar, this phrase is it's basically a phraseological expression, is to boil. That when the samovar starts boiling, it's stepping into boiling. That's just like sholash purash. It's like to enter into boiling. That's just how it's said. Yeah. And these, I would still actually, I would understand these as sort of hortative, like let's drink tea and let's eat pastries. Okay, then Sonia up to Tamle. One moment.
Tau, punga kogulitat, parenga kogulitat, pishtamle.
Tau, punga kogulitat, parenge kogulitat, pishtamle. Thank you. I have no idea what it is. It's like mushroom pastries.
Yeah.
And potato pastries. Is it like the filling inside, or is it like the type of dough, or?
It's the filling, I would think, like a mushroom pastry with mushroom filling, a pastry with potato filling.
Are really tasty.
Yeah. So here we see at as a coordinating element. So it is both your mushroom pastries and your potato pastries are very tasty. And then Luan gets the next one.
Bet kojaštan peš moštet.
You can cook really good.
Yeah. Yeah, like, oh boy, you really know how to bake, kind of. And so, and this is like here, moshtash, you would use it here also because you really want to stress that this is like a skill that she has and not like an ability, that she really learned to do this. Okay, then Sandra gets the next one. One moment.
Eğer çırma tamlinal,
What's the first word? Like
Egerche. It's a kind of Mari. I'm not sure if I would call it a pastry, but
it's that bread thing, right? Oh boy. So Yulu says that. Like also my type of bread thingy. I'm not sure what to do with nala.
It's tricky. It's one of these converb constructions that we have. And so, do you know what kamlash is?
To taste?
To taste.
But I'm not sure if it's to taste or to be tasty.
No, it is to taste, like to taste something.
Oh, okay. Have a taste of my egg as well.
Yes, exactly. So what nal is here? It's sort of an auto-benefactive construction. Have a taste for yourself. Have a see, like taste it and see what it works, what it's like. Yeah, and this is egerche gemat. What it actually is an egerche. This egerche, untranslatable. Je, possessive suffix, third person plural, singular. As accusative, and an at also. And it's again third person singular because it is like it's part of a salient set. They're at the table and there are all these different things that they could taste. And they gerche one subset of the things on the table. Yelu wants Zoya to try. So Valentina also gets a converb construction in the next one. One moment.
Tau, kočka non čem? Peš moštet.
eğer çırma tamlinal,
Jara, tau, kočka non čem?
Yeah.
So it's like sure, thank you. Basically, mean I'll see to try them, or I'll see to eat them, or I'll try them.
Yeah. So literally it is, yes, I will eating the, and this is then like Untitled is used especially if you do something just to see what it's like, to try something. So like kochken Untitled is like I try to eat it, but no more like I will eat it to see what it tastes like. Yeah. But sometimes Untitled it also is used as like to try to do something as a new experience for the first time. Okay, then Kelvin is up next.
Tau, kočka non čem? Jelu, te ne gerčet mlanem peš kelšaš.
Yeah.
Yellow, then egerchet melanim peshkelsh. Yellow, I really like your egerche.
Tugayak tam laukli, te mogaj?
Okay, sorry. Next will be Sonia, but when I get the right place.
Te ne gerčet mlanem peš kelšaš. Men tugayak tam laukli.
Megan tugayak tam laukli. Like my ones, or those I make, like in my way, are not that tasty.
Yeah. So this is again like a usage of the ak where it's a bit hard to put your finger on it. It's like million is mine. Tugai is like that. Tamla tasty, okli don't get. Mine don't get that tasty. And then this ak, it's like not quite that tasty or so. Sort of, it's like stressing the identity. Hard to put my finger on it. Okay, then Luan gets the next one.
Як там лауклі? Ти могай рецепт почешеш тек?
According to which recipe do you make them?
And then Sandra gets the next one.
Іде Марії кочкаш книгас рецепт.
This is the recipe from the book Mari Food.
Yeah. I thought with these things that there are no recipes, there is just skill, and we don't have the skill, but apparently there are recipes. Just as a note, next week we're going to actually look at a recipe. Don't actually try it. It doesn't work. It's been tried. Then Valentina is up next.
Тенгече са Мария елштад, егерчим кузе ешташ канлаш уло. Аштен ончо?
Yeah.
So I think that means that in yesterday's Marial newspaper, they basically explained how to make them.
Yeah, there is advice on how to make them. Yeah. And then ishten oncho, what does that mean?
It's again a converb, so you can, or I saw it, like I saw how to make it.
No, it's imperative. So
take a look.
Literally is doing look, and what it means is basically like have a try.
Take a look, yeah.
Just to see if it works, kind of. Okay, and then Kevin gets the last one.
Лакаштен ончем.
Сергелан, чела пелек келшиш.
Erlak ishten onchem. I'll have a go at it tomorrow.
Yeah. So on here it's again this ak. There's a lot of ak in this chapter. This I would then translate into German as gleich morgen, right? Like right away tomorrow, already tomorrow. So like at the earliest possible date. So like already tomorrow, I will have a try. Okay, are there any other questions tomorrow itself? Yeah, I guess. Is that an existing book? Very good question. A friend of mine in Vienna has a Russian language Mari cookbook. I want to try to get a copy of it, and I want to scan it and share it around. There are some. Somebody found a recipe, some Mari recipes in Hungarian on the internet. I have asked Bogi if they are plausible, but she still has to have a look at it. That's okay. It looks a bit like langosh. Yeah, I guess. I mean, most of the things that you find, you're just type them into Google, and you will find some pictures. Okay. Okay. Any other questions pertaining to the text? Okay, I'm going to skip the listening comprehension exercise this week, just because it's been grammatically heavy with the first past tense. Next week should be a bit less heavy. Maybe we can do one there. But if you want to test yourself on this, you can download the slides also as a PowerPoint presentation. You can play it there and see sentence for sentence.
Майн Сергей Олташемын, тенгече шоч.
Follow these things. Okay, but let's go to the written exercises. One moment. So Okay, there are too many exercises to do them all within a viable time frame, but let's try to do at least one pertaining to each of the points we have looked at, and those of the others exercises we don't manage to do today, you can do on your own, and if you want, you can send them to me for checking. So, c'est ce, we want to form them based on the word in parentheses. The critical thing is in translating what the whole thing means in the end. You can ask me for translations of individual lexemes here, but you cannot ask me for translations for the whole thing, because figuring that out is your job. Okay, I think Kelvin was last, so Sonia gets the first one.
Jeremy, I just wonder what kaluk is.
People.
Oh, sorry. Olase kaluk, I would say city people, so people who live in the city.
Yeah, yeah. The kaluk, it's like German. In German, you translate it as Volk, or in Russian, Narod, and I'm guessing there's a word like that in Czech too. Is it something close to Narod or so? Is it?
In Czech, I think we would just say lidi or lid.
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult, or yeah.
Okay, the first time I saw this as Olase kayak, like a city bird. Okay. Works too. Luan gets the next one.
Yalisa Ilish, village life.
The village life, the countryside life. Yeah. Sandra, the next.
Unsure about vowel harmony now. If it's uremse or uremso.
Uremse was right, because it's always the last full vowel that determines the vowel harmony.
Okay. Uremse punar. Yeah, street light.
Yep. Then Valentina.
Pasuso, pasha. So is it like field work? But I guess, yeah, field work.
Yeah, like work on the field.
On the field, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then Kelvin.
Chodrase kayak. So kayak is a bird. Chodara, I have forgotten.
Forest.
Oh, so a forest bird then.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that might some of you might have, some people remember that there is an alcoholic beverage that is Mari Chodera, the Moray forest. And it's something that gets gifted a lot. And it's pretty heavy stuff. Okay, Sonia, next.
Dačice, Gazette, today's newspaper.
Yep. And yeah, Luan.
Judemse year. It's like night rain or
yeah, it's like in German it could be like nächtlicher Regen or something like that. Yeah. And yeah, Sandra.
Kisitse Ilish, contemporary life.
Yeah, and
modern life.
Yeah, both work. Yeah. Then Valentina.
So then geçese şer. I forgot what "sure" means.
Milk.
So is it like yesterday's milk?
Yesterday's milk. Okay, one moment. Make these. Oops. Okay, then Kelvin. We're going into the ones.
All right, so Yeshan Liash.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what was Yesh?
Family.
Okay, so to have a family in that case, I guess would be the best idiomatic translation.
Yeah, to get oneself a family, more like, because it's sort of like liash is the transformative one. So this is the expression we use if somebody marries and has kids, that they it's yeshan liesh. Okay, then Sonia.
Marielle, Le Mans Gazette, the newspaper called Marielle.
Yep. Then Luan.
Luman Keche, a snowy day.
Yep. Then Sandra.
Watan Mari.
Vatan Mari. Yeah.
Sorry, Watan Mari. The wife having husband.
Yeah. Married man, kind of. Then Valentina.
Pialan Ilish, so happy life.
Yeah. Then Kevin.
Yuran Keche, a rainy day.
Yeah. Then Sonia.
Shukoyochan Yesh, a big family. So a family where they have a lot of kids.
Yeah. Then Luan.
Tacha Madashan. Oh, this is a sentence. So today it is windy.
Yeah. And Sandra.
Tachapesh Kichan. Today it's very sunny.
Yep. Right. Okay. I'm going to skip over this one, and I think I'm also going to skip over this one just because it is so easy. But you can see it for like motor, beautiful, motoren, beautifully, etc. Okay. But let's do this one, and then also with translation, starting with Valentina.
So me sain Elena. Literally, we live well, but if it is like in Russian, then it means that they are quite well off, or we are quite well off.
Yeah, yeah, I would interpret it like that. Then Kevin.
Pudoporen oncha. So he or she looks good.
Yeah, but this like looks. This here one has to be careful because it is looking kindly, more like, because it's looking in the sense of like somebody is looking actively. It's not like that looks good or so, where the thing being looked at is looking. If I say Pudoporen oncha, it would be like, I don't know, like a cat is looking at you with the friendly look in its eyes. And it's like, poren oncha, it's looking kindly. Okay, Sonia.
Chodera ujargen koyash. The forest looks green.
Yeah, probably you just translate it as like the forest is green or something like that. But yeah, what can we do? Luan?
Todo Yishtin on Challenge. Hishite is looking like it's the same as in number 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Like cold.
Yeah, giving an icy look or so. And the only difference between here is on chal is it's in momentary, like one time, like giving a look or so. So like if somebody gives you a look of ice, this would be the phrase to use. Then Sandra?
The Tamlin Kochkita. You cook tasty.
You eat tastily.
Yeah, also eat, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you say. If somebody eats well, or just, yeah. Then Valentina.
Nuno schuldin ujalat, and I forgot the meaning of ujalash and also of schuld.
Yeah, ujalash is to sell, and schuldo is cheap.
So they sell cheap, like at a good price.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, then let's try also with comparative forms, starting with Kevin.
Me sayan ilana, ame sayan rak ilana.
Yeah.
We live well and we live even better.
Yeah. Weird flex, but okay. Sonia.
Me tamlan kochkam, ame tamlan rak kochkam. Or should it be at the end? No, it's the verb that comes at the end.
The verb comes at the end, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
It was right. So, and it means then?
Sorry, I eat like tasty food, tasty things, and I eat even better things.
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult to...
Yeah, the weird boasting is not getting any less weird. Okay, then Luan?
Ivuk Schulden Ushala Pötja Schulden Rak Ushala Ivuk sells cheaply and Pötja sells cheaplier.
Yeah, even more cheaply. Yeah. Sandra?
Tudera ujargen koyash, apesu ujargen rak koyash. The forest looks green and the field looks even greener.
Okay, then Valentina, the last one.
Echan shokshin chia ami shokshin rak. So Echan dresses well.
Yeah, warmly.
Warmly,
yeah.
And I dress even warmer or more warmly.
Yep. Okay, now we come to the really tricky thing, if we can conjugate these verbs. If you can't yet do it, no worries. We'll have a repetition lesson where we will try this in greater detail. So first up is Kelvin.
Kuestash. All right, so kuestam, kuestach, kuesta, kueste, kueshna, kuesta, kuestach.
Yes, can you say the last one again?
Kuestach.
Yeah, right. Then Sonia gets the next one.
Oof. Nalema, nalesh, nale. Sorry, I will have to get some help. Nale, nalem.
Nale, yeah, with the palatal one.
Nalem, nale, knowledge, nale. No, it's not palatalized, is it? No.
Not in the first plural, no.
I mean, like the third person singular.
Yes, it is. It is.
It's nale.
Nale.
Nalna, nalna, nalda, and knowledge.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly write these in transcription to avoid ambiguity.
Thank you.
Oops. So here, just here, we have no palatalization. Everywhere else we do. Okay, then Luan, visage.
Visishim, visishich, visish, visish na, visish da, visished.
Yep. And Sandra, puash to give.
Is the final vowel reduced?
Yes.
Poor, but poor.
Poor.
Portion, porshich, porsh. Push, pushna, pushda, and pushed.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Okay, I think we can skip this, but let's go up to 10. Let's do this one, where the word in italics we want to put in the past tense, and then we want to translate the sentence. Let's start with Valentina.
So, my shonem to dotache tolesh. I forgot what shonash means.
To think.
So I think he's coming to now.
Today.
Today. Shon ishim.
Shonshim.
Shonshim.
Yeah, very good. Then Kelvin.
So ja agerchim kochkin oncha. So ja agerchim kochkin onchish. So ja tried eating some agerche.
Yeah. Then Sonia.
Yochavlak achashtam shachmukech dene salamlan.
Salamlat, care for the
Salamlat.
italics are weird.
Yeah. So like the kids wish their father a good day, I think.
Shuchmokeche.
No, sorry, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yochavlak achashtam shachmukeche dene salam lisht.
Salam lisht.
Salam lisht.
Yeah. Then please. Okay, then Luan.
Me österreichisch Shinchina the Jayam Yuna becomes me österreichisch Shichna the Jayam Yuna.
Very good. Then Sandra. Oh wait, sorry, translation still.
Yeah, we sit down at the table and drink tea.
Yeah. Then Sandra.
Echan kiritish pura and Echan kiritish purish. What is purash?
To enter, to go in.
Echan entered the shop.
Yep. Then Valentina.
So evoke machinajim ujala. Evoke machinajim ujalo.
No.
Ujale.
So ujala, what conjugation is that?
I forgot. So it's the second one.
Yeah.
So he's selling his car. So it would become o or a, right?
That's first conjugation. In the second conjugation, the ending was?
I forgot.
So in the second conjugation, we always need to have a sh. Ujalish. And then the person ending in the third person singular, there is none. So that's it.
Ujalish. Thank you.
Yeah. Then Kevin.
Kijk vlak shokshe elish chongeshten kayat. Kijk vlak shokshe elish chongeshten kayisht. So the birds went to the warm country.
Yeah, they flew off to the warm country. Yeah, then Sonia.
Dace yiriresh. Today is raining. Dace yire. No. Yire.
Yeah, very good. Then Luan.
Myra Yoshka ga da lekten kaya Myra Yoshkagish da lekten kayish. Myra turned red and left.
Yeah. Okay, then last one goes to Sandra.
Tulesh, Yocham Korestesh da Receptum Voza. The doctor comes, listens to the child and writes a recipe and prescription. Vrach tolo Yocham Korestesh da Receptum.
Okay, kolestesh is which conjugation?
It's the same. So it's kolesto.
Yep.
Da Receptum Bose.
Very good. Okay, so now we come to still the one really obnoxious verb, one of two only truly irregular verbs in Mari to be. And if we can manage them in all the persons, starting with Valentina.
Ti de castene ti custo ilit.
No, it's what was the ending in the first past tense? This is the sound change that we have on occasion, that we have this alternation between t and ch in Mari.
Okay, yeah, ilich.
Ilich. Yeah.
And then me bibliotekiste ilim.
Ilim. There's got to be a pun with Lenin in here somewhere.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
I can't quite figure it out yet. Give me time. Kelvin.
Tide knigaje kusta ilja. Shirlike stak ilja.
Yeah, and wait, what does it mean?
Where was this book? It was on the shelf.
Yeah, and here the ak is like it was right on the shelf, like at the place where one would have expected it. Okay, then Sonia.
Michu den Erik pognamash godam kushto ilest. No, it's the first conjugation ilech.
Ilech, yeah.
Nuno bufeteste ilech. So where Michu and where were Michu and Eric during the meeting? They were in a snack bar. Yeah. In Czech language we have also the word buffet.
Buffet in German, yeah.
Buffet, yeah.
Okay, then Luan, the last one.
The Konzert godem kusto iljuta me uremiste iljuna.
Yeah.
During the concert, we were outside.
And then somebody looks at it then later. Okay, I think we're going to skip this one. Okay. Okay. Maybe let's do still 17 as the last one for today. Starting with just translating, Sandra.
The vitaminen chayim ishten moshtet. Do you know how to prepare the vitamin T?
Yeah. And Valentina?
Did the kayak chungeshten moshta, so can this bird fly?
Yeah. Kevin?
Do you guys know how to read in German?
Yep. Then Sonia?
Can they sing?
Yep. Then Luan?
The mom is dann mochte da. What are you able to do?
Yeah. And Sandra?
The mom is then oda mosto. What are you not able to do?
Exactly. Okay, so I haven't checked the chat recently to see if there are any questions, or it didn't pop up on me. If there are any questions I have not answered, if that is, yeah, okay. If Mari Kochgesch is an existing book, I will have another. I hope I will manage. I will look at existing Mari cookbooks at some point. Okay, are there any other questions about this chapter for the time being? If not, I am going to stop the recording.